This is what started it all. 5 years ago, Hyundai saw the potential for a mid-size SUV and launched the Creta. And the rest, as they say, is history. In the 5th year came serious competition in the form of the Hector and the Seltos. And now Hyundai won their crown back. This is the all-new Creta. And let's find out how it drives. So let's start with the interiors because that's where you're going to be spending most of your time. Now the new Creta, it gets a nice 4-spoke steering wheel, flat bottom, nice to hold, nice to look at, a 10.25-inch touchscreen which works very well, very intuitive. It gets CarPlay, Android Auto, obviously everything that you would want. It gets a wireless charger for your phone, 1, 2, 3 USB ports, seat coolers, very good in the city, especially in our Indian conditions with our heat. Huge panoramic sunroof. Now this one is the 1.4 turbo with the 7-speed DCT gearbox, and it gets paddle shifters behind the steering wheel, so it actually makes it even more sporty in terms of the feel, and it gets a drive mode selector. Now the Creta is only front wheel drive, but it does get snow, sand and mud modes, plus it gets a sport mode. How does that work? Let's find out. But first, let's have a look at the styling, because the styling is a bit polarizing. So what do you think about the styling of the new Creta? Now, fact of the matter is that styling is a very personal subject. What you like, I might not, and vice versa. But there's no disputing that the new Creta is polarizing in the styling department. Now, this is Hyundai's new sensuous sportiness design language. It gets this cascading grille. The headlamps are in the bumpers, so you have these full LED headlamps in the bumpers, and then it's got a split design going on, so you have your eyebrow LED DRLs up top, this element in the center, so 3 pieces, the lighting and the fog lamps on the bumper. It's got blacked out bottom end to give it a butch SUV kind of look. Over to the side, that black cladding continues, and it gets 17-inch wheels on this top end version. Now this looks red, but Hyundai calls it orange, and it has a dual tone effect, so the wing mirrors, the roof rails are all blacked out, and it gives a nice contrast, to be honest. And at the rear, again a bit polarizing, 3 elements to it split, so you have these LED elements and then the tail lamp which sort of mimics the look of the headlamp. This is the turbo version, and it's nice that a big turbo badge. And what I like is that these exhaust tips, they are real exhaust tips. These are not fake, and unlike some of its rivals, the exhausts are not covered, so it is on display. A turbo car, obviously it's got performance, and exhaust tips, it denotes that this has got performance. The stop lamp up here, and then Creta written big and bold across the boot lid. This is polarizing for sure, but make no mistake, you will see a lot of these Cretas on the road, and when you see it, you will not mistake it for anything else. Now this being Evo, obviously our first taste of the Creta has to be with the turbo petrol engine. This is a 1.4 litre turbo petrol, and it's mated to the 7-speed twin-clutch automatic gearbox. It makes 138 bhp of power, 242 Newton meters of torque, and I can tell you that it is a lot of fun to drive. This steering wheel, nice fat steering wheel, flat bottom, you get a good driving position. Some of the seats aren't as supportive as I would have expected, but the visibility is great, the driving position is good, and it has paddles behind the steering wheel to control the gearbox. So when you are driving up this twisty mountain road, when you want to hold on to a lower gear, use the paddles, and it is a lot of fun. Now it's got this drive mode controller, so we'll stick it in sport mode. Now there's a lot of this light show that happens out here, and then the gears, they hold for longer. The steering, it becomes a little heavier, and the car feels a little more exciting. This is a good chassis. It stays planted. The ride quality is slightly on the firmer side at low city speeds, but that has its benefits. So when you have a slightly bumpy road, this does not wallow, this does not float. This feels connected, it stays planted, very European in terms of its feel, and I really like that. Hyundai, its sister company Kia, they are making cars that are good fun to drive, engaging cars, and the Creta is in that mold. When you give it the beans, the engine, it is audible, but it's not an irritating noise. In fact, it is a bit spotty. It feels like the car is working, and then it makes you want to work, which is good fun. I know I'm saying fun too many times, but genuinely, this is a nice car to drive. The front end, decent amount of feedback through the steering, not brimming with feel, but it's decent amount, and it stays planted. It goes where you want it to go, it sticks to its line well. Understeer, not too much, it resists understeer quite well. And the body roll also, it is well contained. Of course, there is a bit of body roll, but it's never too much. In terms of the creature comforts, the stuff that I like, these seat coolers, they work really well in the Indian summer. The steering wheel, great to hold. This red stitching on the steering wheel, red accents on the aircon vents, red piping on the seats, together with this all black of the cabin, looks really classy and a bit sporty. Now, this is not the N line or anything, but it looks nice, it looks sporty. The plastics, now this is all plastic, but it does not feel cheap. It feels quality. It feels like this car is a well-built car which is going to last. It's got a wireless charger for the phone. It's got an air quality index plus an air purifier in the center armrest. So it tells you how bad the air outside is and how much cleaner the air inside the cabin is. And in terms of the design, I like the fact that the screen is integrated into the dash. They're not doing this floating screen which has become the fad with every single manufacturer. So it's a good thing that they've stayed away from it. And it's got a normal instrument binnacle instead of that full flat rectangular thing that the Seltos has. So overall the cabin actually looks really nice and much better than its rivals. At the rear, the Creta gets a little more space than the outgoing car. Now, this driver's seat is adjusted to my driving position, and there's still a little bit amount of free knee room. I am 5'9" in height. It gets this huge panoramic sunroof that lets in a lot of light and air into the cabin. This top-end version with the turbo petrol engine gets all black interiors, but because so much light comes into the cabin, it still feels nice and airy. You get these sun blinds for the side windows, center armrest, cup holders, nice cushions for the headrest which feel actually very comfortable. It gets these nice red accents which are there around these vents at the back. No aircon, but only vents at the back, and a USB. Overall, it actually is a nice cabin. The width hasn't really increased, so putting 5 out here might be a bit of a squeeze, and it doesn't even have a fully flat floor. But for 4 people, it's actually quite comfortable. So the verdict on the Creta. Now, the earlier generation, it sold 6.6 lakh units, out of which just under 2 lakhs were exported. That is a sizable number and very profitable numbers for Hyundai. After all, the Creta is not a compact SUV, it's not a cheap SUV. This top of the line version costs 17.2 lakh rupees. The range though, it starts just under 10 lakh rupees ex-showroom, and in that range you get a diesel, you get 2 petrols, you get the 1.5 petrol, you get the 1.4 turbo petrol, you get a DCT gearbox, or you get a CVT gearbox, or you get a regular automatic, or obviously you get manuals. There's a whole load of variants and options to choose from. Will the Creta go back to the bestseller tag in the mid-size SUV segment? Well, it has all the ingredients and I would not bet against it. This Creta, very nice to drive, okay, interesting to look at, but overall package, fantastic. Subscribe to the Evo India channel and hit the bell icon to keep pace with the thrill of driving.